All right, I'm here with Brian. We've talked about this project before on the podcast, or I think it was really early in the process, but we're here at your garden suite. And I guess you're pretty much complete at this point, but why don't you walk us through? First, I want to start off by asking you about how you started, where you started. It was a garage initially. What was the process like from there?
Yeah, so maybe I'll just step back maybe a little bit before that. So I'm part of a mastermind, or I was part of a mastermind, and one of the individuals, probably one of our mutual friends, he was in the process of converting a detached garage into a garden suite. So I started to talk to him about the numbers, and it just made sense. So I went back and he connected me with a couple people, and I started the process. I had to do a feasibility study because it was an existing garage, so I had to make sure the foundation was fine. And so we got an engineer in, and anyways, long story short, the feasibility study turned out that we were able to move forward. And then I started the process, so hired contractors and so.
Just on that note, before we move forward, because that's important, what kind of like footings did you have in here? I think you usually need about like 4-foot footings or something.
Exactly. I think it's 4 or 5 feet. Yeah. So I had to get my contractor to dig up the corner of one of the footings, dig down. I think he dug down 5 feet. And then had the engineer came in, took a look at it. And then unfortunately, he didn't dig down initially far enough. So I used to refill it. So I had to go and dig it up instead of paying again. So that was a whole debacle in itself, but fine. And so yeah, I had to dig down 5 feet, take pictures for the engineer, and for him to give it the okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we can continue from there.
Yeah. So at that point, because this was a whole new experience for me, I've done a ton of legal basement apartments, and so I'm very comfortable with the process, but I've never actually done a garden suite. So I decided to do something a bit different this time. I hired a project manager to support me in the process, and we started the process late May or late June, I think, or mid-June.
Okay, so 2024, June 2024. Right now we're recording at the end of December 2024.
That's right.
Yeah.
And initially he told me it was going to take 3 or 4 weeks. So when a contractor gives me a time frame, I usually double it, right? Just from my own experience. Especially if you have investors, you want to make sure. I believe in under promising and over delivering, budget and time. So I always give myself and my investors a buffer. The project in itself, like you said, we're December now, and we started in June, and it's taken maybe 4 or 5 months. But the budget, do you want to talk about numbers?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about numbers. So I got quoted initially for $130,000, which was a bit more than my buddy paid, but he was also the GC, so there is going to be a bit of a buffer. But I was comfortable with $130,000. I ended up doing a couple upgrades. So initially I was quoted for laminate countertop. Yeah. You'll see I ended up with quartz countertop. So I did a couple upgrades, as well as the City of Toronto wanted you to put in a backwater valve for plumbing, just in the event that there's any type of sewer backup. So spent a couple bucks with that. So overall, I ended up spending just over $8,000 more for those upgrades.
Okay.
And you may take a picture for your viewers in the front. You'll see that wood paneling in the front of the property. So instead of putting vinyl right across, I decided to, just jazz it up a bit.
Yep. Yeah.
And on one of the exterior walls, I put a nice wood finish, which I'm very happy that I went with, because it makes, I think, a huge difference. And so anyways, a couple of upgrades ended up costing me about $8,000 more.
So that exterior, that's a natural wood. Is that just staying? Well, I guess it's staying. It would be finished for the exterior, right?
Yeah. So natural wood, that's staying. So again, I think it makes a big difference on the look and feel.
Can you share a little bit of the additional costs associated with using the natural wood versus vinyl?
Yeah, so it wasn't that much more expensive. So the vinyl, I think, was about $1. Already, per foot roughly, and the wood was about probably an extra, I don't know, $1. But it's not a huge surface, right? It's probably it is 20 by about maybe 10, right?
So like 200 square feet.
Yeah, right. So not a lot of additional cost relative to, I think, the impact it has on the overall look and feel. So spent about $8,000 for that. So that brought me to roughly $138,000. And then good old Toronto Hydro. So some of your viewers may or may not know, and this is a really good tip. If you're doing a conversion in Toronto, specifically, Toronto Hydro is going through a process where they're upgrading all their meters. And so they said they're going to take a 5-year process to do that. They're going to eat the cost of it. However, if you're planning on doing any type of construction that requires your meter to get upgraded, they're going to stick the cost on.
Right.
So of course, right? Which I found out after the fact.
Yep.
So long story short, I had to add an additional meter. So this is a triplex turning to a fourplex. So I had to go from 4 to 5 meters because there's 1 meter, of course, with a common area.
Yep.
And so I had to replace the entire years.
That's pretty
pricey. So it ended up costing me $8,000 plus taxes, just roughly over $9,000. So that's a cost that I did not budget for. So that brought me to where are we at now? Age 17, about $147,000.
Yeah.
And then, not directly related to the garden suite itself, but I ended up paving the driveway. So I ended up adding 2 additional parking spots, as I mentioned, which is a huge benefit because even though it's walking distance to 2 subway stops, people that are usually spending over $2,000 for rent, they still like the option of having,
How many parking spaces do you have total?
So now I have 2, 4, 5 parking spaces.
5 for 4 units. Yep.
Yeah. And so that cost me to do paving and add additional parking spots, an additional $90,000. All right. So I think I'm probably around, give or take, just under $160,000 for everything.
You know what? That's actually a lot less than what a lot of other people have been reporting for their garden suites. I didn't because you had an existing structure. It's a lot less, but I've heard of a couple people that have spent about $350 plus to build a structure from scratch.
Yeah.
So that's a significant amount less.
And that's a good point. And like you, I know individuals that have built in Oshawa, Whitby, and they spent anywhere from $350, $375 to $500,000.
Yeah.
$500,000 on the larger end because they had to put a retaining wall. Surprises, basically.
Yeah.
And I think what I would probably say to your viewers is that what I find makes sense is doing exactly what I did, is converting a detached garage into a garden suite because of the price differential, right? So you're able to build for a lot less, and you're also able to create what I would say is reasonably affordable housing.
Yeah, because I don't have to dig out a foundation like that. That's expensive stuff to dig something out, pour the concrete, like start the framing from scratch, you do all that. But also, I think one of the main things that I'm wondering about is the services. So you had to bring in water, hydro. I don't know. You don't have gas like you have, obviously. Heat pump. That's the word I'm looking for. So can you tell us about the process of bringing the services over?
Yeah, and so that's a great question, and that's one of the things that I was very unfamiliar with. So I had to the city required us to connect to the house versus connect to the main of basically the end of the street. And they're doing that because they don't want you to, in the future, be able to sever the property,
right,
the garden suite from cutting unit. And so we had to connect right into either the main building or in front of the main building. So we had to run sewage, we had to run electricity. And so we dug down, I think roughly around 8 feet.
Right at the front?
Right at the front. So it actually right in front of the, essentially where you park.
Yep.
In front of the front window, and right down about 40 feet.
40 feet. Okay, you ran everything all through that one area there. So you had your water lines, your sewers, hydro, all through there.
All through there. The only difference is that we kept on running the sewage straight to the front of the house and connected in the front because that's how the city wanted us to connect. But initially, the did contain all those different pieces.
So do you know what the cost was just for that alone?
I know that to go from the front of the house to the house was an extra $5,000. I don't know what it was from the front of the garden suite to the house, and I know that difference because the contractor told me he wanted to pass that additional fee on to me, because he said that he didn't know initially. He wanted to connect directly to the house versus connecting in front of the house. So that's an extra maybe 15 feet. So far to guess, I'd say probably about an $8,000 dig in total.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was all day. Like it took all day to do it.
Yeah. I mean, everything sounds pretty reasonable. The numbers aren't astronomical. Like personally, I don't understand how the numbers work if you're spending 350 to 500. Maybe in Toronto it makes sense because the rents are really high, but to do it for 150 to 200 makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, and again, I think that's what I was alluding to, is that if you spend 350,000, I don't see how the numbers work, right? I see how the numbers work with what I'm doing, right? Because on the low end, I budgeted for $1,700 a month rent. My property manager said I could probably get around 2,200.
Yeah.
But again, I'm very conservative. But to spend $350,000 for rent, you're looking at least carrying costs at least $2,400, right? Depending where interest rates are.
Yeah.
Plus, you're looking at increased property taxes because of that additional dwelling unit. In Oshawa, the people that I know, they're getting around 2,700 or 2,900 for the garden suite.
It's probably bigger than this.
Right. Yes, at 600 square feet.
Yeah.
And they're nice. I've been at.
You said this is 400?
400, right? And they have 3 bedrooms. Yeah, 3 bedrooms and a basement, but they're still only getting between 2,700 to 2,900.
Yeah.
Right. So if your carrying costs is around 2,400, 2,300, that's principal and interest. It doesn't make much, in my opinion, much financial sense to do it, right? So again, I think this is a great opportunity for people who are looking to deploy capital, increase cash flow on existing properties that they have, or if they're looking at least in Toronto, building a multiplex, a 4+1, a great opportunity to find a property that they can put 4 units inside and use an existing detached garage to make it fit. And to our earlier conversation before we came on air, you can then qualify for commercial finance.
Right. Yeah. So that's what you have here. You have a triplex in the main structure, and now you have 1 additional unit, so you're at 4 total, which still unfortunately doesn't qualify you for a commercial loan. But do you have any plans in the future to, I mean, you were talking about your neighbors. There's 2 triplexes next door.
Triplex beside me, 6plex on the other side, and the neighbor owns a 6plex and a triplex beside him. So he owns 9 units, and my other neighbor owns 3. And like I said, we have a fantastic relationship, and they're both much older. So I'm hoping one day one of them will sell.
Yes.
And I ideally like to buy one of them.
Yeah.
But I also had the option, and we'll probably tour one of the vacant units as well, is because it's roughly over 1,100 square feet. My architect showed me how I could re-demise the unit. So to convert that 1,100 square feet to 2 units, either a 1-bedroom, either 2 1-bedrooms or 1 bedroom and a bachelor.
Yeah.
Which would then allow me to get that.
Yeah, for sure.
Commercial financing. So that's something I'm looking at maybe over the next 5 years. We'll see. It also attracts a different tenant profile because it's a bachelor.
Yeah.
So that's one thing we'll have to think about, but it's still an option.
Yeah. Why don't we take a quick tour? I mean, it's relatively small space, but we'll take a quick tour here, and you can walk us through, and if there's any challenges that you came across with the layout or anything like that.
You mentioned this place is 400 square feet, and so the entire unit itself, there were challenges because it's reasonably small.
Yeah. And
so we just had to find opportunities to maximize the space as best as possible. And one of the things which we'll go into a bit, is the bedroom, where we wanted to make sure the bedroom is comfortable enough to at least accommodate a queen size bed.
Yeah.
But the kitchen is pretty straightforward and compact. One of the things I did is, instead of going with your standard 30-inch fridge, I got something that was a bit taller and narrower, just to allow it to appear to be a bit bigger.
Yeah.
And you probably haven't noticed, but we also have the water tank hidden behind that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. I do. I was gonna ask you where like some of your mechanical stuff was, but
yeah. So the drafts person did a great job with I say hiding it and using the space. So the water tank just behind one of the cabinets there, which I think was a great idea. Overall, a pretty straightforward layout.
So your quartz, like this is an IKEA kitchen. Was the quartz ordered through IKEA as well?
No, the quartz was ordered through my contractor's contact. Okay, so you mentioned, yes, IKEA cabinets, top and bottom. Initially, we were actually going to go with a gray look at top and bottom, but when the gray cabinets went in, it seemed to be a bit dark for the space. So I decided to go with white at the top. Okay, just to brighten it up.
Yeah.
But again, overall, pretty straightforward layout. They have a lot of counter space, which is nice on this side and on that side. So a lot of counter space for a smaller kitchen.
So you picked these finishes up? Everything, flooring, baseboards, Yeah.
Majority. I did pick the baseboards, but they're pretty standard.
Yeah.
But I picked the floor, cabinets, faucets,
Okay.
backsplash. We used heat pumps. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask you, these things suck up a lot of power, generally. You only have two from what I could see,
Yes.
but you have a 100 amp panel in here,
Yes.
and then you have, what, 200 amp service to the property, and that was enough. You didn't have to upgrade your service.
Yeah, great question. Great question. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
So I had to also get a electrician to calculate the load coming in to make sure that it would be enough, because it's a triplex outside, adding another unit. So I had to get the electrician to do a calculation to get the Toronto Hydro to just justify to say that yes, there's enough power coming into the building that would accommodate 4 different units. So yeah, so it's 100 amp out here, and there's 2 headers, one in here, and you'll see the other one in the bedroom.
Yep.
And that's more than enough to heat and cool this place.
Do you have a baseboard here in the bathroom?
No, I was thinking about doing that, and I actually asked the electrician, and he said it should be more than enough.
Does this provide heat to the bathroom? Your headers, because I can see there's like a register in the ceiling. Is that providing heat?
No, so it's just the header out here.
Is that your HRV unit? Is that what that is?
The HRV unit's in here. Yeah, so it just brings in cool air and it just circulates the air.
Yeah, it circulates the air. That's what those registers are for. Yeah.
So we're sitting in the family room / living room. Smaller space, but it does more than enough. There is a couch here, and I was mentioning to you before we got on that initially I was going to use this space as an Airbnb, but decided not to, based on some recent case law. So again, really compact family space, but good enough for one young professional or 2 young professionals that really want to be in a great location. So again, the space is probably here about 10 by 10, I would say. And yeah, because I was going to use it as a short-term rental, I had purchased TV and a wall. Now, it'll be a great. I'm using it as a gift for anyone that's going to move in. So the bathroom here, again, pretty straightforward. I'll go in, but a smaller bathroom, but it has the essentials. And I also included stackable washer and dryer here as well, because for a unit like this, you want to make sure that you do have access to laundry. And there's a stand-up shower here. Initially, I was going to use a tub, but then if I put a tub in, I wouldn't have been able to add the washer and dryer. So again, pretty straight.
Really good use of the space. Yeah, and the finishes are nice too. Yeah.
And then we have the one OBU in here. Again, large enough to accommodate a queen-size bed, which is perfect, and it brings in a lot of natural light, which is great. And then just a smaller closet here, but more than enough for a single person or maybe 2 young professionals.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. The windows are really great too. You have lots of natural light all the way across. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that front window, because
sure,
you had the 2 garage doors, and you had to, I guess, convert one of the doors into a large window, and the other one was for the front entrance. And that's part of why I would assume why you put that wood paneling at the front to cover up the old opening, right?
exactly.
So why don't we just take a quick peek? So this is the exact width of the old door that was here, the old garage door?
It is pretty much. Okay, pretty much. It would have gone probably further back here and then right to this wall. Okay, right to this wall. Yeah, and then the contractor built it out. But again, this was essentially the garage door here.
Yeah.
And I could have used, instead of the wood paneling, I could have used regular vinyl siding, but I think the aesthetics of the wood.
So are these custom windows? Oh yeah, custom windows. You didn't really just go to Home Depot and pick these up, right?
Oh, not at all.
And then the same thing with the door, custom door as well. And you had to make the opening a little smaller to fit this door in. And then what are you running through here, just out of curiosity?
So the 2 garage doors, between the 2 garage doors, had a brick pillar.
Right.
So we're basically hiding one right pillars that was here.
And then you just have your standard closet at the front. Is that right?
The standard well, I won't call it standard because this is where the HR.
This I see it.
All right, so there's still some junk in here, but I did put some hangers here as well, and I'm gonna also add some clothes hangers here as well, just to add some additional
Looks good. So yeah, this is really comfortable. I'd say it's laid out well. I actually the first home that I bought for myself was a little tiny bungalow in Hamilton. I think it was like 350 square feet. It was literally the size of this. Oh wow! And it was functional. I had a basement though, so I can store stuff. But I found I lived there and I was comfortable. I didn't need any more space than that on my own. So
Yeah, there you go. And this is a bit bigger, so there you go.
so I think that wraps up here. Was there anything else you want to touch on before we move into your
Actual building over there. Not really. I think right. So right now, just so your viewers know, I have it up for rent for I think 1900 plus utilities. Initially, I was wanted to get 2100, but the market has softened a bit, which we probably all know. And in this neighborhood specifically, I say rents have gone down about 10%.
Okay.
So I have it up right now for 1900.
Is there a separate water meter here?
There isn't a separate water meter, but I have a sub meter.
Okay.
On the main
Through the city?
or through. So I got my plumber to add a sub meter. Okay, that will essentially tell you how much water is being used, and I could bill it back to if I want.
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect.
So I had to pay extra for as well.
Okay, so this is unit 2. This unit's going to be rented in a couple days. And so I think I mentioned that this property was built in 1959. And when I purchased it, everything was seated top. Exactly. Everything was standard.
Yeah.
Right. And so nothing was changed. And so this is a family room, living in family room. And so this wall wasn't here before. Right. I had my contractor put up a wall, and I'll show you why in a bit. But this space is more than enough for a young family or 2 or 3 people to live here, which is why I thought it would make sense to put up this wall, and I'll show you what's behind it.
This has a very Italian feel.
Does it?
Yeah. Like with the blinds hidden behind.
Like it might have been an Italian contractor.
Yeah.
I never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, great size, very symmetrical, so you can put your couches anywhere you want, your TV. Very cozy.
And you go with vinyl floors?
Yes, always go with vinyl floors, usually 6 millimeters floor.
Replace all the cabinets, put in vinyl on floor,
And so essentially a full gut.
Custom cabinets.
Yeah, custom cabinets.
Yeah.
Nothing expensive, but not IKEA. You know, always.
What do you normally spend on your kitchen cabinets? Like, do you have a figure that you can share?
I don't, but I'd say my kitchens usually cost me material, labor, and everything around $8,000 or so.
Okay.
So that's floor, that's cabinets, that's quartz countertop, backsplash hardware, backsplash,
Yeah.
some work with electrical, the whole 9.
Okay.
So my other unit that I have on the 3rd floor, the layout is pretty symmetrical, but upstairs I put a washer and dryer in this spot right here. And I think I mentioned the reason I didn't do it here is because I find there's it vibrates quite a bit. Looking back, I probably should have done it, but there is still a washer and dryer in the furnace room downstairs that kind of have access to. Okay. But again, really nice space, large space for a 2-bedroom.
You have space for a table too in here if you wanted to.
So exactly. This is a nice little nook as well. Just added counter space.
This is a kite for your espresso machine.
Exactly. And so behind this door, so this is one of the things I'm very proud of, which really sets this unit apart from other units in the area.
That explains why you put up that wall.
Exactly. So, and this wall was here before. And as you know, Jordan, a lot of people are working from home now. I work from home.
Yeah.
Most days. So a lot of people want a space that they can work from, ideally a private space. So in this, it is a pretty large space. It is a large space for an office. Yeah, but you can use it as a 3rd bedroom,
or a nursery or something like that.
Exactly. So you have that space that someone can use, which is great, right? And a lot of light. Spent a couple extra bucks just to make sure that the light fixture was a large light fixture that
Yeah.
appeared natural light.
You want 2+10.
Yes, and basically, so 2+10. Nothing fancy there. Just you did the floors, light fixture, baseboard.
These are all the existing windows in the suited?
Yes, all the newest are the steel windows.
Right. Okay.
So, like you said, so there's a second bedroom right here. Again, pretty similar to the other bedrooms. And yeah, the bathroom. So I didn't do a full gut in this bathroom. One of the reasons I didn't decide to do is because the tenants downstairs have been through a lot with their renos. So I decided to not do a full gut. So this is the original tub. It was pink. I just hadn't got my contractor to spray the tile and the tub. So again, it was pink tiles here, pink tub. So they sprayed it. He changed the fixtures, and this is a new toilet, of course, new vanity and fixtures, and just laid the same file that I did on the outside in here as well. So really, it freshens it up. Everybody wants a fresh bathroom, fresh kitchen. So I think this gives it that look that people are looking for.
Yeah, it looks pretty good for being original tile, original tub. You just had it reglazed, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that was about $1,100.
Yeah. So last thing that I want to ask you about, you had mentioned that you were considering at some point splitting one of the units and turning into a 1-bedroom and a bachelor, right?
Yeah.
So is this one of the ones that you could do, and how would you do that?
Yeah. So this is the one that I would do. I will put a door. I would take down this wall, right?
Okay.
Open it up. You have a door leading, an exterior door leading outside, and then I'll build a step down because we're not that high if we look out here.
Right.
So it would be a door head leading outside around here. Take this door down. I would put kitchen on this side if it's close to plumbing, right? This would probably be the family room. So the bedroom that's here would probably be the family room, and it would just be an open concept. And I would probably put the partition wall on this side over here, like close to where the wall is for the deck.
Just past the bathroom.
Exactly, just past the bathroom. And I would keep this bathroom for this unit, and the kitchen where the kitchen is, I would put a new bathroom there and just put the kitchen cabinets on the other side.
Okay.
So it'd be pretty straightforward. The major cost would probably be, I would probably have to get Toronto Hydro to increase the load coming in from 200 down to 400.
Yeah.
And if I did that alone would cost me about $40,000. And probably a 6-month wait.
That's is that just for the service, or like is that including a transformer upgrade? Because I remember I looked into that at one of my properties, and they wanted to charge me for the transformer upgrade as well.
Really?
Yeah.
So I haven't looked into it. I just know from what my architect told me that's typically what our customers were being charged. So $40,000 or $50,000. And I guess that's probably a 6-month wait, which is ridiculous. I haven't had a great experience with Toronto Hydro, but again, that's something down the road that I'm looking at that will add value. Yeah. But again, I did to make my numbers work. I didn't need it to do it.
Can we talk about the numbers? So this, since that was a lot of the drive force behind
Absolutely
doing these things. So when you bought this place, all the units were occupied, but two units were occupied. You moved into one of the units because this is actually where you've been living the last couple of years. So tell us about what the numbers look like and what the number you're in.
Sure. So you'll have to bear with me for the numbers, but when I purchased it, the strategy was to turn over all 3 units, increase rents, and I would eventually end up cash flow. Not a lot because probably Toronto. So when I purchased it, it was probably roughly about $2,500 to $3,000 cash flow negative.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, the plan was to turn over units, etc. So I turned over every single unit.
So can you just tell us what the rents were?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the rents, the basement were 14 and change.
Yeah.
The rent in the main unit was 16 and change, 1,600, and the top unit was vacant.
Yeah.
So now since I've renovated all 3 units, the basement unit I'm getting, so it went from 1,600 to 2,400 plus utilities.
So Alm's renovated.
Yes, renovated. So about an $800 let. The May floor, tenants are moving in a couple of days. Will go from 16 to 20.
2450 over here. Okay, and that's it.
Plus hydro.
And what did you spend on the renovations here?
About 30,000.
30,000. Okay. Yeah.
And then the main floor, my rate's about 2,400, but I could probably get, because the intent is now that it's complete, I'll probably move out the next 12 months and I'll probably be able to get about 2,800.
Okay.
For it.
Okay.
Right. So and the good thing is rents have ballooned since I did my initial projections. I wasn't expecting those types of rents. I'll also understanding interest rates have gone. So the things, Jordan, I think I was telling you about is that because this building is so old, built in 1959, it's not energy efficient at all. So one of the things I did was I got an energy audit done, which the government pays for. It's around $700. You get a full rebate for the cost. And when I purchased this budget, I didn't budget enough for what it will cost for heating. I really under budgeted for that, and even hydro.
You're talking about your monthly carrying costs. You didn't project how much it was going to cost.
Exactly. My projections were a bit low.
Yeah.
So one of the things that people should consider is really looking at when they purchase older property, like at least 30 or 40 years old, really look to see the impact on the ending consumptions, right?
So the thing is, you buy from a wholesaler, so you don't necessarily have all the advantages of asking for those 24 months of utility bill payments and all that.
Exactly. So in my defense, but anyways, I got the energy audit, and that did help with some of the costs for upgrading for it. So I put heat pumps in some of the units here, so I was able to get a refund for that, as well as a change the exterior doors, or a refund for that, and some of the windows to the bay unit.
So is that because you did the energy audit, you were able to get the refund? Because you can't just, change doors and say, hey, here's the bill.
That's right.
Send you up money, right?
Yeah, you have to get an energy audit first, and then you can start the process. So you can't change anything until you get the energy audit, and otherwise we'll get a rebate. And it has to be certified Energy Charter. So we have 2,400 upstairs, and then for the garden suite, I'm expecting 1,900 plus utilities. When all is said and done, I will be around not $10,000
in gross rent.
In gross rent, yeah. And I will cash flow roughly, I think, $700 or $800.
So you purchased this, was it 3 years ago?
True, almost 3 years ago. In least 3 years, yeah, 3 months, in March, 3 years.
In March, 3 years, and can you share the purchase price?
Yeah, I purchased it from a wholesaler for $1.55 million.
1.55.
At the time, it was probably worth about $1.7 million. And like I said, interest rates have gone up substantially, but now they're coming down. So there's some reprieve. But when I initially did my projections, I wasn't considering building a garden suite. So that has worked out well. And rents also increased. So that has really helped with my numbers. So really the domino would fall is for the garden suite to get rented. Once that's rented and interest rates come down a bit more, I'm taking maybe the next 6 months, I'll refinance. And then, like I said, I'll probably cash flow about $800 or $900, between $800 to $1,000 a month.
What do you project the value will be once at the time of refinance?
I'm hoping about $2 million.
Okay. So for $500,000 lift is from when you purchased it. You invested, would you say, probably around $300,000 total?
Exactly. About $160 for the garden suite, and then roughly $30,000 per unit.
Right. Okay. So that'll allow you to pull out a bunch of the capital that you invested into this project, and then you have something that you can hold on to for the next 5, 10, however many years.
Exactly. This is a long-term hold. So I call it my blue chip property. It's not going to appreciate 7-8%, right, because of the value. But it's Toronto, it'll probably appreciate between 3 to 5%. So we have Toronto. Toronto's usually 5%. I budget 3%, but it's a nice blue chip property that shouldn't stay vacant long because of the location. And even at 3% at $2 million at $60,000 a year plus mortgage pay down, you're looking at $75,000, $80,000 a year.
Yeah,
it's not a bad deal for myself.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you for walking us through. Is there anything else you feel like we missed discussing? Anything else you want to share?
just that I think that there's a small window for an opportunities for multiplex conversions in Toronto, specifically ones where you can add garden suite. So investors that are thinking about getting into the market or thinking about investing, I think there's still some opportunities in Toronto. And yeah, definitely check it out. And I also have a course that I teach at George Brown College every semester. So if you're a new investor or you're thinking about learning how to invest, go on George Brown's website, continue your education. I think the course is called Real Estate Investment Strategies. Check it out. Would love to have you join the course.
If anyone wants to get in touch with you, what would be the best way?
Probably my Instagram, acquiring_wisdom.
Acquiring wisdom. All right.
Always learning.
All right. Thanks for doing this. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Appreciate having you.